Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabila Ardiningrum and my student ID is 33230086. And in this video, I will do my presentation for a group project Teaching English as Foreign Language, Field Research-Based Project, Micro Teaching. And as you can see, these are two photos with two class that we taught. And my group consists of Alvita Nurliani, Devani Putri Warsito, Nabila Ardiningrum, myself, and Olivia Aida Sandrina. Then let's moving on to next slide. Background of the study. English, learning enhance basic communication skills in an international context. Selected materials we chose focusing on self-introduction, family, classroom objects, singular or plural usage, demonstrative, and prepositions, aim to build essential vocabulary. These resources help improve the students' understanding and confidence in using basic English for effective communication in various situations. Next slide. Research question. My group has one question, which is, can seventh grade students in MTS Al Husna understand basic English materials? Then moving on to next slide, description of research object. For research object, this research was conducted in MTS Al Husna. The teaching process was done in 2 days and focusing on 2 classes, May 11th at 7A class and May 13th at 7B class. Each classes have 20 students with different levels of English proficiency. And the media we use, PowerPoint, LCD projector and laptop, whiteboard, and marker. Next slide, research objective and benefit. This study aims to examine the basic English knowledge middle schoolers, especially in 7th grade students of MTS Al Husna. Specifically, the study aims to students are able to introduce themselves in simple English, students are able to describe things, students know and learn new vocabulary, students are able to identify objects around them in English, students are able to use a preposition in a sentence, and students are able to use number in English. Then moving on to benefits for students, first gain confidence in speaking and answering in English. Because it's not a secret that students in Indonesia, it's not really confident using or speaking in English, as English is not our first language, and this is the benefit for them to just using speaking English without being afraid of using it wrong, because we all still learning. The second benefit, increase motivation and interest in learning English. As we know that these days, all things like technology, globalization, so learning English are is especially needed because everything's around is sometimes in English, and I think this benefits really good for them to actually being able to understand not just in Indonesian but also in English. The next benefit, active in participation of classroom activities. In my group, micro teaching, we also do a quiz, so it's actually good that each individuals of students need to be active participating in learning activities, not just being quiet or just passively learning, so they actually also do or learning how English is not boring in class. Then benefit for teachers, build a positive relationship between students and teachers. Teachers is not just learning and explain back to students, because in learning process, there's also required a positive relationship between students and teacher, where it affects much that relationship is also affected how the learning process between the students and also the teachers. Next benefit, support for creating a more effective and enjoyable learning environment. So in learning process, we were also students back then, so actually understand that sometimes students feel boring while learning. That's why this benefit for teachers actually creating how method and strategy is really important, how learning process for students because they don't want it to be boring when they learning English, especially they are not confident using and speaking in English in daily conversation. Then the next benefits for teachers understand better in classroom management because being teacher is not just teaching the students about the materials because even from the relationship, method, strategy, and even how learning or trying to make students learning even more better uh, than just a boring way. So this micro teaching also help people, students, help teachers to actually can manage how classroom is going for the better learning process. Next slide. The theoretical framework. Schema theory outlines how individuals organize and interpret information, influencing learning, memory, and academic success. Review activities aim at activating prior knowledge about fundamental English concepts, including self-introduction, family, classroom objects, singular or plural forms, and preposition were designed to reinforce students' understanding. Mainly 2024. Next slide. Moving on to analysis and discussion. First, analysis of the phenomenon. To answer the previous question, can seventh grade students in MTSL who's not understand basic English materials? Students can understand the material despite hearing unfocused during lessons, contrasting with their engagement during quizzes, especially when prizes are involved. This discrepancy in tension may impact the teaching and learning process. Then for discussion, the core cycle is the step-by-step process. It consists of planning, action, observation, and reflection. First, we plan the teaching materials. Next, we teach the activity. Then we monitor what is happening during the activity. Finally, we observe the two classes that have been taught. First, planning. A structured lesson plan was created prior to the teaching activity to outline learning objectives and select review materials on various topics such as self-introduction, family, and basic English concepts. This planning ensured that resources and assessment methods were in place to evaluate students' understanding and align the session with the intended learning outcomes. Then action. During the session, materials were explained to students, followed by their demonstration of understanding. An icebreaking activity was conducted to enhance engagement before discussing prepositions, where students arrange sentences based on object positions. The session concluded with short quiz to assess comprehension and evaluate the effectiveness of the learning activity. Then observation. During the observation stage, student participation and understanding were assessed. Most students successfully answered the teacher's questions, showing enthusiasm in activities such as practice sessions and discussions. Their responses indicated comprehension of basic English concepts, including self-introduction, family classroom checks, and the usage of singular or plural, demonstrative, and propositions. Then, number four, reflection. The teaching activity effectively reviewed materials that had been delivered by the teacher. Most students actively participated through interactive quizzes. However, some students needed additional assistance with sentence construction. Future lessons should be incorporate more practice opportunities. While the first class, 7A, was enthusiastic, the second class, 7B, was less active but showed improved politeness, reflecting varying levels of engagement despite the common interest in the quiz. Then we use teaching methods. And the first methods, control techniques. Control practice enables learners to use new language in a limited context, reflecting a shift from traditional method to a focus on communication. Brown, 2001, classification of language teaching methods is referenced emphasizing and manipulative techniques such as drilling, dictating, and reading aloud to elicit predictable responses from students. We use these methods because my group, after explaining, we do the repetition, how they actually pronounce it for each words. Next method, communicative language teaching. A distinguishing characteristic of the communicative language teaching CLT approach is its emphasis on students as active individuals who achieve knowledge through active learning and had a transformative impact on foreign language education by placing greater emphasis on fluency, interaction, and real-world communication as opposed to rote memorization and grammar drills. Salma Nova 2025. We also use this method because after we explaining, we let the students do short daily conversation that use basic English words so they actually can learn how to do it in real situation. Next method, cooperative learning signifies an effective pedagogical approach with the potential to enhance students' awareness of independent learning and upgrade their proficiency in independent study, basing on the premise that a group of students can collaborate to complete a learning task. It facilitates identification of individual strengths and weaknesses, the complementation of each other's abilities, and the cultivation of a more dynamic learning environment. Zhang et al. 2024. We also use this method because during quizzes, we part the students into groups so they actually can do or answer quizzes in groups, emphasizing that knowing each other's abilities and weaknesses. Then the last method, lexical approach. The lexical approach is a language teaching method that prioritizes vocabulary and word combinations over traditional grammar-focused techniques. It emphasizes the creative use of vocabulary to enhance speaking ease, supported by corpus linguistic, which provides practical language data. The approach highlights common expression and demonstrates its teaching implication as noted by Lewis, 1997. And this method is related to how to the material because we put basic grammar such as prepositions, such as singular and plural. That's why it used in the activity. Next slide. Conclusion. The teaching activity identified different levels of understanding in basic English among students. Many showed proficiency in self-introduction, functional objects, and prepositions, while others faced challenges with vocabulary recall and sentence construction. The review session successfully highlighted strengths and areas for improvement, enhancing the reinforcement of fundamental English concepts and boosting student engagement. And next slide, these are the references for this presentation. And I think that's it, presentation from me, and I will end this video with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.